we actually have to look at the other side of the table too. It's not just the title race that's been fascinating this year. The relegation battle, hugely fascinating too. And of course, you had sort of two worlds clashing for the Sunday night fixture. RB Leipzig beating Hertha Berlin. And you know what? I actually thought Hertha looked really good in this match. They lost it, which is, of course, hugely frustrating for them. But at the end of the day, and I think this was actually mentioned by one of our Substack readers, Hertha could actually look at this match day and say, okay, well, if we play like this is something where we can get the results down the stretch and maybe work our way out of the relegation battle.
Yeah, absolutely. It was 1948 who said, so we asked our paid subscribers for the comments after the match day, and he said, I think Hertha are going to demolish Schalke on Friday, look really good against Leipzig and unlucky not to get any points. And then Mark said something about Stuttgart, which we'll talk about in a moment. But yeah, I completely agree with you. I did manage to catch some of this game, and I found myself quite impressed with just how high Hertha's line was, the way that they were kind of really taking the game to Leipzig. And I completely agree that, they could really, obviously they lost to a decent Leipzig side, but they could really go in to take a lot of confidence from it, and just to kind of transition to that Schalke game to an extent, because, that was my game of the week, and thought it was actually quite an interesting match in the sense that it felt to me like a game in which Schalke just kind of really kind of diminished from the it's almost like they had the limelight shine on them, and they just kind of looked like a rabbit caught in the headlights to an extent. They had a huge amount of their fans actually made the trip to Hoffenheim. I think I saw they maybe had like 10,000 or something fans there, and within 22 minutes there's an own goal from Kral, who I thought was pretty poor throughout the match. But it did kind of strike me this, and obviously Hoffenheim have got a new head coach. They've kind of managed to turn their form around. I think it's now 3 wins in the trot, perhaps, if I'm not mistaken. And then you kind of watch games like this, and you kind of look at those performances, and you say, yeah, of course Hoffenheim shouldn't be anywhere near you, because you look at that team, they've got so many outstanding players. I thought Bebe was outstanding up front. You also got Kramaric in the middle of the park. Angelino, I thought, was outstanding. He kind of forced that own goal. And they've got great players from start to finish. And it looked like a game in which, two teams are in a very similar circumstance in the league, but one that had clearly has the individual talent to win key moments in the game, to win the game. And a Schalke team that, huff and puff, but at times have just kind of turned to Salazar and said, right, can you try and win this game for us? And I don't know, it was a really really difficult game to watch if you're a Schalke fan, I think, because they just didn't really offer anything. It was quite concerning going forward. I mean, obviously maybe they'll rely more on their home form and being able to play defensively, but they really got picked apart by Hoffenheim and weren't very impressive at all.
Yeah, no, I actually thought this is probably the most concerning and pivotal match day that for Schalke this season. You're quite right that the atmosphere was insane. It almost felt like a Schalke home game, right? But it is really, really concerning for them, I think, where they are. And when you look at the table now, they're back to last place. They have the second worst goal differential after VfL Bochum. And yeah, I mean, that relegation race has gotten really difficult for them now. On 21 points, 5 points behind Bochum. Stuttgart won, Hertha looked better. Hoffenheim kind of like working their way out of that bottom part of the table. Maybe kind of sucking Augsburg and Köln into the relegation battle, right? And I hate this because I want Schalke to stay in the Bundesliga, but it almost feels that this new manager bounce that they had and this run of form, that was the maximum that we were going to get out of the squad, right? And now that that early euphoria has sort of worn off, you almost sense that, okay, well, is that it? Was that it? Is that all the side has to offer? And you almost wonder, yeah, probably. This could be the next 7 match days could be really long for Schalke if they keep playing like that. And
yeah, if you actually look at the games they've got coming up, there's some very clear contrast between the games they can win and the games they can't win. So they've also got Hertha coming up at home next weekend, which is undoubtedly a must-win. Then they play Freiburg, Werder Bremen, and Mainz. Now, there are definitely some winnable games there. I mean, Freiburg away is obviously very difficult, but Werder Bremen at home, that has to be 3 points. Even Mainz away, I know Mainz have been playing very well, but that's a game that they're going to have to go into and try and win, because the last 3 games of the season are Bayern, Frankfurt, and Leipzig. You know, so their season could, the final points they pick up could be like almost a good month before the end of the season. So it's basically never never for Schalke. And I mean, you know, they have done well. I kind of wrote a piece on them a few months ago in terms of how they managed to they went 4 games without conceding a goal. Then they picked up 2 wins, and you kind of thought, here we go. Then they kind of have that comeback in the Riviera Derby against Dortmund. But they've come up against some difficult sides. They've picked up a draw against Augsburg, and then they came up against arguably two of the most informed teams in the league right now, in Leverkusen and Hoffenheim. So you can understand maybe why they lost those games. But this Hertha Berlin game at home, if they can't win that game, they don't deserve to stay in the league, and it's as simple as that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Okay, so